The Blind Tony Story, Book 3, Chapter 6. I had hit my father, and looking back on my life, I realize now that that was probably the worst decision I ever made in my entire life. And as a result, I have spent many years under a curse, if only in my own mind. I truly bore a modern-day mark of Cain. For my father was a good man, a godly man, a gentle man, and he in no way deserved the abusive, rebellious, selfish disrespect that my actions and behavior had conveyed. Couple that stubborn rebelliousness with drug and alcohol use and abuse and utopian concepts that were totally unrealistic and in fact non-existent in reality, but conceptualized and encouraged by society and my peers because the slogan of the day was, do your own thing. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was clearly poised at the crossroads, and I turned left when I should have turned right. Anyway, I started anesthetizing my increased pain and alienation by increasing my drug intake. I was becoming a black hippie, a triblippy. Everybody I hung out with got high, and almost all of them were white. I started doing a lot of psychedelic drugs, mainly acid, and my experiences were bringing me in greater and greater contact with the hippie culture. I started listening to Jimi Hendrix and the Vanilla Fudge and Cream and Blind Faith, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Chicago, Traffic, The Iron Butterfly. Most of my friends were white, but we were beyond color. I started dating a girl named Tabitha. Now, this girl was the daughter of the multi-millionaire who rented the Concorde jet every year on his birthday to fly his friends to Paris for the day. This was the same millionaire who owned all those art galleries all around the world and also owned a lot of jewelry stores. Anyway, I started dating his daughter, and we really had strong feelings for each other. And I used to hang out at her house in Margate a lot. But I guess I was kind of naive. Tabitha was more advanced than me, and I was still a virgin, though we kissed a lot. Her father and mother were very nice, and they had brought their children up not to be prejudiced in any way. But I don't think that they had ever expected that their daughter would bring a black guy home. Anyway, one day Tabitha just disappeared, and when I asked her father where she was, he told me he had sent her away to school, and that I should seriously think about going to college myself. Any school of my choice, all expenses paid, plus a modest stipend. Just forget all about Tabitha. I was portrait. That all brought on the need for more anesthesia, because he had added to my already less thanness that I felt within myself. The times they were changing, and instead of bleach cream and straightening comb, black people started wearing afros and dashikis and singing songs like "I'm Black and I'm Proud." We're moving on up. We're a winner. I started changing from a triblipian to a revolutionary. Malcolm X had left the Nation of Islam and had started the Afro-American Unity Movement. The emphasis was on black people learning to think for themselves and to learn who they were historically and to conceptualize and actualize a game plan and solid methodology based on a concrete ideology that would empower black people to move from being strictly consumers into becoming producers, self-sufficient, starting with the basics like the right to vote. Malcolm started talking about the ballot or the bullet. Malcolm X started advocating black people reading books that would impart to black people information that was previously denied to us, highlighting the struggles of the oppressed peoples from all around the world. The Chinese people had Mao Zedong. The Korean people had Kim Il-sung. There was Ho Chi Minh, Che Guevara, the Zulu Nation, James Baldwin, Eldridge Cleaver, Franz Fanon, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King Jr., and many, many others. Black power was on the rise. Elijah Muhammad had transformed many incorrigibles, many young black people, into suit and bow tie wearing, bean pie eating, newspaper selling, well-spoken gentlemen selling papers on the corner. And within their own exclusive framework, they did a lot of good for the black community. But they were limited in their overall appeal because they too were racist in their own way. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. had both advocated the need for the racists, all racists, to work together to find solutions to common problems, like justice for all. Anyway, I went back to see Tabitha's father to tell him I had decided not to go to college, but that I wanted to open up a bookstore. And he at first was quite agreeable to my proposal to have black people learn all about their glorious past, until the subject of Israel came up. At that point, it was all downhill, because I told him that I perceived Israel's Zionist movement to be an extension of the same capitalistic reality that was destroying the entire world, and also that their treatment of their Arab neighbors was tantamount to barbarism. That was the end of our conversation, and I haven't spoken to him since. Anyway, the bookstore did get started under the banner of the Afro-American Unity Movement. It was run by a man named Alfred Washington, along with Salvador's older brother, and also a man named Clem. They were all older than me, but they were all positive role models for me. I devoured all the literature that I could get my hands on. I especially loved The Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Mass, Towards a Dying Colonialism by Franz Fanon. Che Guevara became my new hero. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. both got assassinated. The Black Panther Party rose to power. James used to come down from Jersey City to speak to us about the Black Panther Party. And he also delivered the Black Panther Party newspapers. The interest was so strong that he started coming down every weekend. Eventually, a rally was going to be held for the Jersey City 3 in Jersey City, and he invited some of us to attend. I was one of those people. And I ended up joining the Black Panther Party at that time, and I moved to Jersey City. We all lived in a big brick house at 93 Summit Avenue. We had a free health clinic, a free breakfast program. We also assisted the community in any way that we could. The police were dangerous, and they viewed us as the enemy. The feelings were mutual, and we were very well armed. Some of my friends were tortured and killed. Many more had to go underground or were incarcerated. Some are still incarcerated today and will never get out. One of those people is James, that same James who first introduced me to the Black Panther Party. We also had a rally for the New York 21. And Zaqueri, who was also from Atlantic City, got killed on the New Jersey Turnpike in a shootout with the state troopers. He was originally named Zaid Costin at birth, and he was a close friend. I knew his whole family. Afeni Shakur was also one of the New York 21. She was better known today as the mother of deceased rapper Tupac Shakur. Tupac's natural father, Billy, also lived in 93 Summit Avenue. And Afeni would come over from the Bronx and spend the night with Billy there. That's how Tupac was conceived. But Billy also had two other sons by a girl named Carol, who also lived in Jersey City. So there was always a lot of drama, and the atmosphere was highly charged with tension. Twice while living on Summit Avenue, I was written up in Jet magazine. I became a target for the police. I was intelligent, articulate, outspoken, and unafraid. And black, which was a very dangerous, volatile combination in those days, especially on the streets of Jersey City, New Jersey. They had a civil disobedience squad whose sole purpose was to destroy the Black Panther Party in Jersey City. I participated in many rallies and was gassed by the National Guard in New Haven, Connecticut at a rally for Bobby Seale and Erica Huggins. I remember a poem written by a Black Panther named Mark Clark that went like this. A slave of natural death who dies can't balance out the two dead flies. I'd rather live without the shame, a bullet lodged within my brain. Now, shortly after he wrote those words, Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were both killed in their sleep by members of the Chicago police force under Mayor Daley. Anthony Imperiale wasn't much better in Newark or Frank Rizzo in Philly. All of them were responsible for multiple deaths of Black Panther Party members. And regularly, they all okayed the use of deadly force in their quest to destroy the Black Panther Party. It was also tension between the Black Panther Party and the Black nationalists at that time, the leaders like Leroy Jones and Ron Karanga. I did a lot of fundraising, especially in the Princeton area, and I was part of the bodyguard detail that was assigned to Huey Newton when he was in the New Jersey, New York area during his speaking tour. The police viewed the Black Panther Party as the greatest threat to national security they had ever faced up to this point in time, and J. Edgar Hoover pulled out all the stops in an effort to destroy it. The FBI, both legal and illegal. War broke out in the Black Panther Party between the West Coast and the East Coast factions. Robert Webb was the first casualty in that war. He died in front of chock full of nuts in Harlem. Shortly after that time, Sam Napier got killed in Queens. I personally had a close encounter with Redwine, one of the West Coast's finest assassins. The police orchestrated a scenario to get me, Solomon, and Billy out of the office, because they knew that if one of the three of us was there, then there was going to be a shootout, for sure. Solomon and I went to pick up a community donation. The donation was a gun. I was driving, and after we picked up the donation and were returning back to the office, I approached the stop sign. The car in front of me had reached the stop sign already and had stopped, but it wasn't moving, although there was no traffic coming. So I tooted the horn, and in my frustration, I failed to notice that the occupants of the car that was directly behind us had gotten out and were crawling on the ground towards our vehicle. Suddenly, both Solomon and I found ourselves at gunpoint and were told that if we moved, we would be splattered all over Jackson Avenue, Jackson and Communipaw. We had been set up, and while we were in jail, they raided the office. We had excellent lawyers, the firm of Leonard Weinglass, but we lost the case. I was contacted by the American Civil Liberties Union and asked if they could handle my appeal. There were constitutional rights in conflict in this case. The police had used an unnamed undercover informant to set us up. The Constitution guarantees me the right to know who my accuser is and to have the opportunity to face them in a court of law. However, the Constitution also guarantees that same undercover informant the right to not to have to incriminate itself. So whose constitutional rights would take priority and why? The final Supreme Court ruling still stands on the books today and is labeled the State of New Jersey versus Anthony W. Horton. That's me. And it reads like this. If an informant has been used on the past by the police department on 3 occasions or more, and his information is proven to be reliable, then they don't have to produce him in court. End of story. I was given time served and exiled from Jersey City, New Jersey. Once again, I made Jap magazine.